We're live, right? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Sorry, folks, still dealing with a little technology here. I think we've got it resolved. Hopefully you can hear me at home. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with this rainy weather pattern and then just mainly take a little time to go more slowly through some of the river stages. So bear with me here. This isn't really a formal presentation as I try and get my button. There we go. Thank you for your patience there. So we're going to just sort of step through some different slides here, talk a little bit about the weather pattern, and then focus mainly on the rivers, because I know for some of you out there that is really the most important issue. So just getting a sort of a sense of the satellite and radar right now. You can see the action. We've actually got another band of showers breaking out. Really wasn't expecting to see this secondary little area of showers, maybe even a flash or two of lightning embedded with it. In fact, let's go ahead and turn on the lightning and see if we've got a little action around the Baton Rouge area. Turn on the lightning. Yep, a couple of flashes over there in Iberville Parish. In fact, starting to pick up a little energy. This little cell here might even produce a little bit of hail. So looks like it's not going to be quite as quiet through the evening as I thought it would. Once this wave gets by, though, I think we really are done for the evening, but that will change up as time progresses. So pushing forward here from this projection, taking a look at the bigger picture. By the way, you'll notice that they actually have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect down along much of the Texas coast. It's quiet across northern Louisiana now. You see where some of this energy is just breaking out. Its flow at the mid-levels going from west to east, a series of disturbances. And as we move a little bit farther out, bigger picture here, you see another disturbance here and a trailing area right here. That one there is going to be in our neighborhood tomorrow morning, and that's why I've got a kind of a wet and potentially stormy start for your Thursday. So later this evening, tonight, for much of the night, it will be quiet, but then as we get into the morning hours, just before and leading into sunrise, things are going to start to pop again. Here we are at 1 a.m. Yeah, a couple of showers around. I won't say entirely dry, but not worried about the kind of rumbles of thunder that most of us dealt with late yesterday into the evening. Now here, though, you see what's popping up. And as we go to 6 o'clock, showers and thunderstorms spreading across the area, making that morning drive a real mess. And one or two of these storms could be strong to severe. We've got a marginal risk for severe weather tomorrow, and essentially on Thursday, the threat will be roughly from about 3 a.m. until, let's say, about 9 or 10 a.m. And then things will settle down. You see this eruption of activity across South Louisiana and up into Mississippi at 6 o'clock. And as we push forward from there, you'll notice that things will really settle down fairly quickly, assuming that our HRRR model is onto something. And this model has been doing fairly well with this series of events here. Again, notice how all the energy will slide to the east and southeast. We'll still be under the clouds for the afternoon, but I've got us essentially dry for your Thursday afternoon. So Thursday morning will be the bumpy period, and that's the potential time where you could see even maybe a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, the good news is tomorrow really kind of taking the tornado threat off the table, but like many of you saw this morning, still warnings that could be associated with some strong winds and, again, some rounds of hail during the morning hours before we settle things down. Good news, though, is that we will settle it down certainly before lunchtime. For many of you, the activity really should be over at about 9 a.m. or so, winding down as the system moves off to the east and southeast. In terms of rainfall for tomorrow, even though we're only talking about essentially a 6-hour window, could see anywhere from about a ½ an inch to an inch, with maybe some isolated 1.5 inch rain totals for that morning. In fact, could see some isolated spots where one of those big thunderstorms rolls on by and it pushes 2 inches during the day tomorrow. Now that's going to be on top of what we already have had, and for many of you up through now, you're already looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain with some isolated totals. In fact, if you were with me at 6 and 6:30, we looked at some places that are looking at 8 to 10 inches of rain over the last 2 days. They're very spotty, very isolated, but you get the sense that it has been an extraordinarily active spell. By the way, it's not supposed to be like this This is a La Nina season. La Ninas are supposed to be relatively dry during the winter and spring, and that hasn't panned out. So we're going to pick up with the rivers here in a second. Let me just see what we've got here going on in terms of some other hellos there. See some folks there. We can hear and see you on Facebook. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was having trouble with my coordinator for this telecast, this presentation, is doing it remotely. And so we still have some issues about how he and I connect. So we talk on the phone to get this all heading and rolling. So that's what's going on there. Please no more. Yeah, I get it, April, but that's unfortunately not my control. I'm just the bearer of the news, not the controller of the sprinklers and the faucets. So remember, if you've got a message, you want to send something to me, go ahead and you can try and post it at WAFB. Jessica says, hey, Jessica, good evening, Mary. All of you that are logging on here, I got to admit, I'm not as good at this as some other people, keeping both my eyes on the system that we're talking about and then trying to track some of the comments, but I think I'll be able to help you out for most of what you're looking for. You folks along the rivers, if you have questions, I'll see what I can do. I'm not going to say what can you expect at this intersection, at that intersection. We're going to talk about the big picture here. So for tomorrow, half an inch to an inch and a half of rain across the area with some isolated totals that could get bigger. And then remember now, while tomorrow has a marginal risk of severe weather, and right now we're not looking at severe weather threats for Friday and Saturday right now. That could change, but for right now, not looking at severe weather for Friday and Saturday, but we are looking at 2 more days where rain is likely, and with that, we're going to add on to it. So these are the rainfall totals for the next 3 days. Now you're talking about essentially 1.5 to 2.5 to maybe 3.5 inches in spots between now and Saturday evening. Now you throw all that on top of what has already fallen, and now we're talking about widespread totals that are going to be running at 4 to 6 to 8 inches with isolated totals that will certainly be in the double digits. We've already got a couple of bullseyes that are in the double digits already. So these are big numbers. Now for the rivers, what we're interested in is what's going on up here. I know for our folks down in the southern parishes, you have really gotten hammered over the last couple of days. But for the rivers that we talk about, the Amite, the Comite, the Tickfall, the Tangi, even the Talbany, this is the area that we watch closely because these are the headwaters. This is where the water drains into, through, and down those river basins. So up here, we could be looking at widespread totals of 4 to 6 inches plus for the event. Now that's not catastrophic. Don't even be thinking about 2016. Take that out of your head. It's not even in the same zip code. In fact, it's not even in the same solar system. But we are looking at minor to moderate flood rises along the rivers. In fact, I'm going to show you here. I think that some of the forecasts right now are a little on the low side. They're not going to go way up from what the Weather Service is saying, but I think they may be a little bit low, and I'll tell you why that's the case in just a minute. So, bottom line is, most of you get wet tomorrow, just about everybody, but it'll be mainly a morning event. By midday, we're about done with it. Don't forget, we could see some severe warnings posted, severe weather warnings posted, mainly damaging winds and some pockets of hail. Not too different from what we saw earlier today. And then, right now, no risk factors put in place for Friday and Saturday, but rain chances 80 and 70, so that's why I'm saying add more to the mix. After we get through tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow midday basically, there's still more rain to come on Friday and on Saturday. So moving ahead, and let's get to those rivers right now. And I hope you can see this at home. If you can, I'll try and help you and read through it. But the bottom line is, with Denham Springs, by the way, north of Denham Springs, so like you folks that want to know about Magnolia, you're going to be Darlington. You're going to stay below flood stage there the way it looks, excuse me, right now. So that's not going to be an issue. Denham Springs currently, our last reading I've got was at 6:15, so it's been about 90 minutes. 27.2, so it might be up a tenth. Forecast right now is to go to 30 feet, 30 even on Friday morning. Now, I think that might be a little low. Here's the reason why. This forecast is using the rainfall estimate only through Friday morning, Friday early morning. It's like about 6 or 7 o'clock. And right now, that estimate of rainfall from earlier this morning, because keep in mind now, this forecast was made at before 9 o'clock this morning. And the forecast before 9 o'clock was calling for about 2.5 inches of rain from 9 o'clock this morning until, let's just say, make it easy, 9 o'clock Friday morning. Well, gotten some substantial rains. In fact, we've gotten half of that already just today. And stopping that accumulation at Friday morning excludes what might fall Friday afternoon and into Saturday. So I think that 2.5 estimate is probably a little low, which means that number is probably a little low. And that's why I said, even I think yesterday and maybe even the day before, I was kind of telling you, think 31, 32 feet. I'm not saying it's going to, I'm not promising you, I'm not saying it's going to go that high, but if 31 or 32 feet on the amite at Denham Springs becomes problematic for you, I would start thinking about, okay, maybe I need to start getting ready for that, because I really do think this number is going to go up. And I think these other numbers on the amite are going to go up as well. Bayou Man Shack, my man there, Mr. DeLottery, called in just a few minutes ago, gave us the updated number at 8.7. So it's pushing flood stage, close to it, 0.3 below right now, and actually had risen briefly above flood stage a day or so ago, came back down, but it's starting to go back up again. Much of that because of today's rain. Forecast to go to 11 feet. I think that might be a little on the low side too. And what that means is as you go downriver, the numbers are going to go up. And if these two are low, then Port Vincent is low. 7.5 and currently not expected to go into flood, expected to crest at 7.5 on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be a big issue for folks in Port Vincent. It really doesn't become a big problem until they get about 9 feet or so. But at 7.5, you start having some problems. Folks over there in like Summerfield, some of the access roads get to be blocked. Old Settlement, I think, becomes a bit of a problem getting in and out because the water rises even before the river goes into flood. So you know, if you live on one of those sort of cul-de-sacs, those in and out one-way roads there, you know what 7.5 means for you. But I think it's going to go above that. I'd say we are going to see flood, a minor flood there at Port Vincent. I wouldn't be shocked to get maybe even a foot higher than 7 feet. And certainly another 6 inches seems to be reasonable. Farther down, now French Settlement, Maurepas, we don't get official forecasts there, in part because sometimes it's harder to determine how much of the rise is due to the rain, the water coming down, versus the wind, the water being pushed in off of the lakes. French Settlement, you're pushing near that 4-foot mark. You're going to be there probably before the weekend. I think you'll go a little bit above 4 feet, same at Maurepas. But the good news is the winds may come around a bit because we've got a little weak front that's sliding through now. So I've got the winds tomorrow mainly with a northerly component. So that'll push some of Lake Pontchartrain and ultimately Lake Maurepas out. That's good news. The question is how long that northerly component will last. So here you go, one more time with the Amite River. If you live north of Denham Springs right now, the forecast says all of those points stay below flood. I think that's pretty reasonable, but I think that once you get to Denham Springs farther south, you're talking about flooding in Denham Springs, and I think it'll get above that 30 feet. Bayou Man Shack, 11.5, 12, maybe even more is not out of the question, I don't think, and I'm still kind of suspicious that Port Vincent will indeed get above the flood stage of 8 feet, largely, again, because these forecasts are essentially talking about 2.5 inches of rain starting earlier this morning through Friday, and I think that we're probably going to see more than 2.5 inches of rain by the time we add in Friday plus Saturday. That's not included here. So does that make sense for y'all? Hopefully you're getting that. Hopefully it makes some sense. And I'm looking to see if I've got anything going on. And it's all relatively good news. Well, maybe so. Nervous about the river. Yeah, I know. Again, I've had a lot of 2016 reference calls and comments and emails. Folks, no, not anywhere near that. So this is going to be what I would call, and there's no such thing as a typical flood, but this is going to be water levels that you are accustomed to for those of you along the river. All right, so that's the A-meet. Let's step forward now, jumping on over to, let's take a look at a couple of these, by the way. That's what I want to do. And a reminder here, if you just want to take a look at these graphs, now these graphs are produced by the National Weather Service. I borrow them and I thank them for their efforts. They're nice, clean, easy to read, at least for me. I think they will be for you. And you can see all of these at wafb.com/weather/river stages. As a matter of fact, there are more sites on that series of pages than I have time to show you. So those of you that maybe think that I missed your site, if you wanted to go look at Magnolia, it's there. So you can go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and we'll pop up a quick look here at A-meet at Denham Springs. And you see that it was nearly 30 feet back over the weekend with the rains there. Now, it's already starting back up, and the forecast is basically saying it won't get much higher than it did over the last weekend. I'm just not buying that. I mean, the river was already high before the rain started to arrive, and we're getting more rain. Now, it's spread over a little bit longer period than that big rush of rain we had Saturday into Sunday over the past weekend. But I think in terms of the footprint of rainfall in the basin, I'm nervous that that number's a little bit low. Plus, we're also, again, that number includes only rainfall through Friday morning. We've got Friday afternoon and Friday evening to take a look at. So keep that in mind for you folks on the A-meet. And here is, I think I've got another Port Vincent in here somewhere. Oops. Nope, that's Holden and Holden. Okay. Let's jump on over to the Co-meet for you folks, because for the Co-meet, yeah, that river is rising very, very rapidly. And you see the Co-meet at Jor went to 24.5 feet last weekend. The forecast is to be about a foot higher as we get into what will really be tomorrow. In fact, it's expected really to get reach that 22.5 feet tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. I wouldn't be surprised if that number's a little bit low. Part of that's going to depend on how much more rain we get between now and tomorrow at lunchtime, because this is the Co-meet is a narrow, skinny basin. It's relatively short, especially when we compare it to some of our other basins, and so we refer to it as a flashy basin. It goes up quickly and it drops down very quickly. We see the big uptick, and by the way, one of the things that has me saying, okay, wait a minute, let's take a look right here, and you may not be able to see this at home, but go to the website, weather/river-stages at WAFB.com, and you'll see that the river is already about a half a foot or a foot higher than the forecast has called for at this time of day. And also keep in mind, this forecast was made earlier this morning before 9 o'clock. We should be getting a new round of forecasts between 8 and 9 o'clock this evening, and I will at least include those during the 10 o'clock show and probably post these on Facebook updated later tonight. But because the river's rising a little more rapidly than had been forecast earlier today, and because we've still got another round of rain coming tomorrow morning that will be right on top of the basin, I'm a little nervous that that 22.5 might be a little on the short side. So let's go ahead and push forward then from there, and we'll take a look at what the river is talking about. So Co-meet at Jor will get to 20 feet tonight. So it's rising steadily. It'll crest tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Again, the forecast says 22.5, and then it should be back below flood stage by late Friday morning. So you get the idea. It's going to go up quickly and come back down quickly. And that, again, is going to depend largely on how much rain falls during that early morning period tomorrow, basically from about 3 a.m. until 9 a.m. If we get a big dousing over the basin, this number will go up, and it'll probably be a little bit delayed in terms of the time that it spikes. By the way, here are a couple other rivers we're watching. The Tangipahoa I'm really only going to focus on Robert right now. It looks like much of the upper portion of the Tangipahoa is going to be okay, stay below flood stage. The Tangi at Robert is already in flood, maybe another foot or so of rise there. The big story here is that it's going to stay in flood above the flood stage of 15 feet. Well into next week, probably Tuesday or even Wednesday, the way things are looking right now. So if that's a problem for you, if that's a river that you watch closely, just be ready for another 5 days or so before it really gets below flood stage. And then at Albany right now, expected to crest, at Baptist, expected to crest below flood stage. Good news for you folks there. I have to admit, I don't know that river very well, so I'm going to go ahead and presume that this is a relatively good forecast number from the National Weather Service. So we've covered those. Let's get to the next basin here, and that is the Tickfall. And this one is one where I'm looking for flooding up and down the entire basin. And in fact, I'm thinking that here again, we may be looking at numbers that might be a little on the low side. Liverpool, 8.6 as of this evening, expected to go to 9.5, but it could be 2 days away or a day and a half away before it gets there. In fact, you'll notice these timestamps, both Montpelier, Liverpool and Montpelier won't crest until Friday. Right now, we got Holden not even cresting until Saturday. So it's going to take time for that water to sort of come together if these forecasts are correct. Holden at a foot above flood stage. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes a little bit above that. Killian, I've got you at 3.9 at 5 o'clock, so you're basically right knocking on the door of flood stage. That north wind tomorrow will help you out a bit, may delay the rise, but I think ultimately you're going to go above flood stage there. So let's take a quick look here at, I think I've put Killian in my packet here, and we'll take a look at that graphic for you, just give you a sense. Oh, there's Holden, and you see, look, now, again, notice, by the way, the river is already a half foot above the earlier forecast, expecting this forecast to also get updated later tonight. Not expected to hit its crest at 16 feet until Saturday evening, and that's a 3-foot rise from where it is right now. I got to admit, it seems like that seems a little slow. I wouldn't be surprised if the crest arrives a little sooner than Saturday evening, but and I wouldn't also be surprised if we see that number go up just a tad. Bottom line is, though, you've got a steady, regular rise over the next couple to several days for the Tickfall, especially the upper and middle parts of the Tickfall. And then Killian, you're going to be sort of waiting on that water to come downhill, plus watching the winds and how Maurepas reacts. So I think we've just about hit all the rivers that we wanted to. And again, the key here is that, number one, these forecasts were all done earlier this morning. Didn't include the rains that fell today. Included a guesstimate of the rains that would fall today and tomorrow into early Friday morning. And I'm thinking that that guesstimate, which was generally about 2.5 inches between this morning and Friday morning, and I'm thinking that number may be just a little bit low. But even if it's right on target, we've still got the rains on Friday afternoon and Saturday to add to that total, which probably nudge these rivers up a little bit, especially since many of them aren't even going to start to crest until we get into Friday and Saturday. So they'll still be rising when even more rain comes. So they won't have a chance to really drop down a little bit as Friday and Saturday's rains roll in here. So let's see what we got. Looking at both my page here and also over there on the, going to give a quick look here at the first alert page. And bear with me while I bring it up, folks. While I'm waiting for it to come up, let me check on some of the comments that you all have put forward there. 1 second. All right. Over on my page, I've got my sleeves rolled up. Yeah, well, you know, it's raining outside. Of course you do. The news, well, was the news good news? I'll leave that to you. You folks tell me whether you found that the news was helpful or useful. Hopefully, at least it was a little bit helpful. Debbie says, I've got family up in Amite County, and they've got quite a bit of rain up there. Yeah, that's that is where the Amite River starts. And yeah, actually, we've had more rain down here than they've had up there. But the real question is, for basically from the area from Denham Springs northward, what's the sort of the average amount of rain? Not looking at bullseyes, but what's the average amount of rain thus far with this event? And from basically Highway 190 or the interstate northward, that area has averaged better than 4 inches of rain over the last few days, with more to come. So because of that, that's why we're seeing the rivers rise. And because of that, with more to come, that's why I think that a couple of these forecasts may be a little bit on the low side. Nothing that's going to be critical or devastating, but just need you to know that it's probably, I do really think that we're probably going to see most of these forecast numbers go up, at least just a little bit. What else we have here? All right, let me check over on the first alert page. What is the expectation totals, rain totals through the weekend? Okay, so I showed you that a minute ago. We'll take another look at it again. So you take what you've got already today, and basically we're going to say that the significant rains should be over by Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And so looking at the basin here, and so here you got southwestern Mississippi, and there's the main drainage zone that feeds all of our rivers. And we're talking about what could be another 2.5 to 3 inches of rain on top of what has already fallen. So that's going to push those rivers up more. And because we're going to spread it out over 3 days, we're never going to really get to see the rivers start to drop any. They're just, at best, they'll just sort of hover at a stage while the rain comes. Tomorrow morning, that should push them up. Then Friday, at the very least, it kind of stays flat, and Saturday, it stays flat at the very minimum. But I think with Friday and Saturday, if we get a couple of good doses of rain in this area here, if we get another 2 to 3 inches in this area here, we're going to see that river, all of the rivers actually respond and see those forecasts go up a little bit. So Steve, hopefully that was a little bit of helpful for you there. Keith, yeah, I wish Mother Nature would turn the faucet off too. This is not the kind of stuff that we're looking for by any stretch of the imagination, but there's still more rain to come. And again, reminder, tomorrow morning, it's going to be early. It's probably going to be the time when many of you are heading to work, when the kids are out at the bus stop getting on their way to school. And 1 or 2 of those storms tomorrow could be on the strong side as well. So keep that in mind. All right. I think I've covered most of the questions. A lot of comments here. As another comment says, reminds me of 2016. No, folks, just not even close. Take 2016 out of your mind. This is not going to be a problem. I know what some of you are going through. I feel it. I've even got, and we've got people here at the station that took in 8 feet of water in their home. So I know what you're dealing with, but this is just not going to be that kind of an event. We're talking about here, worst case scenario, bullseyes of 10 to 12 inches. Remember, 2016 was a big donut of 24 inches with totals getting up to 30 inches in 1 or 2 spots. So we're not going to get anywhere close to what we saw in 2016. So you can take that off the board. But for those of you that have to deal with repetitive flooding, or those of you that have issues anytime the Amite at Denham goes above 30 feet, this is going to be one of those events where you need to go ahead and start reacting and responding now. Get out ahead of it. Well, again, the forecast for Denham Springs 30.0 right now, and I really do think that number is going to go up. So let's call it an evening for now. We'll revisit again tomorrow evening at 7:30. I'll give you an update on what we've got here in terms of the rivers, another look at some of the rainfall totals, and hoping for the best. And maybe with a little luck, tomorrow's weather will be a little quieter than the forecast calls for. And with a lot of luck, maybe between Friday and Saturday, we can get away with less than ½ inch of rain widespread. And that will also keep the rivers from going as high as they might should we see 1 or 2 inches of rain over the last 2 days of the week. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you at 10.